Jeff Snook really stirred it up today. We had Jeff on, what was it, earlier this week or a week ago, whatever it was. I guess it was Monday.
Monday or Friday.
And then Jeff, your Facebook story dropped today with the decidedly other side of the story. I guess to begin with, is there anything you want to make clear to everybody at the beginning of this? Because, I asked this, Jeff, because, there's a lot of people that are going to go, here it is, victim shaming and all of those things. Is there anything you want to make clear at the beginning about your reporting on this story?
Anything I want to make clear?
Well, the only reason I say that is, I'm on Twitter getting a lot of people saying, "Yeah, that's an OSU guy. It's one side of the story," and all of those things. And I know you, and I know how in depth you go on this thing. And if it takes, it's a very in depth story. So I'm just the reporting that you went to get into this. That's why I'm asking if there's anything you want to say about it.
Here's a fact. I graduated from the Ohio State School of Journalism in 1982. Below my byline today are about 50 more facts. So if you want to connect the dots, and people can call me a homer all they want. I'm about 6'5", 250. I got big shoulders. I can handle that. So that doesn't bother me. The facts need to come out. They always say there's three sides of the story: his, hers, and the truth. So, but just bear in mind a couple other facts. There's 9 police calls to their house between 2012 and 2018. No charges came out of those 9 police calls that we know of. What does that tell you? What does that tell you right there? I mean, these facts are going to come out when the police finally do release these reports. But you can draw your own conclusions. And the other fact of the matter is her own mother does not believe her accounts. Her own mother chooses to side with her former son-in-law. Her own mother was present during a lot of this. She hesitant to go on the record in depth because it's still her daughter and she loves her daughter. She's not sure of her motivation. But, that's why we have a court of law with defense attorneys. Anybody accused of any crime has a right to a defense attorney, and the reason is this. They have a right to a proper defense. The witnesses against them, anybody can accuse anybody of anything nowadays. That doesn't mean they're 100% credible. We just happen to be in a Me Too movement since 2016 where I think the media almost shuts down when somebody makes an accusation and doesn't challenge that accusation because so many of these people have turned out to be guilty previously. And I'm talking about the Harvey Weinsteins and those Bill Cosby's. We have multiple accusers. That's hard to. Those people aren't all lying, but here you have one single accuser.
What
has Zach Smith ever been charged with violence against anyone else that we know of?
No. What, when you did your research and you were talking to people, primarily Lynn, but was there any one nugget of information or one thing in your story that jumped out at you that you were like, holy cow? If there was one thing, what was it?
No, there's not one thing. It's just accumulation of facts, accumulation of stories. I'm shocked this hasn't come out in the last 2 weeks, to be honest with this other side. I don't know if people were scared to talk or media people were scared to go after these facts. I have no idea. That question needs to be asked. I think a lot of people knew this behind the scenes and they were scared to pursue it or talk about it. And I don't understand that. Everybody deserves a right to be hear their side heard. And, Zach Smith has to go to a court hearing, so I'm sure his attorney was advising him he can only say so much, and I understand that. But you bear in mind, every day that goes by, there's another court, the court of public opinion, and he's losing that battle dramatically. So's Urban Meyer. I mean, they're way down on the lost column because of this, because their lawyers advise them not to talk. And meanwhile, you have a 6-person committee investigating this matter. Whether they are listening to public opinion or not, how could they not be? But they need to. Well, they're going to base a lot of their determinations on one witness. They better find that witness credible, and if they don't, they're failing their duties. They don't have subpoena power, I'm sure. But what else you got for me, Matt?
Visiting with Jeff Snook, who dropped the Facebook article today that basically is Zach Smith's side of the story and discredits a lot of what Courtney Smith said. Stan, you got a question?
Yeah, Jeff. So who else did you talk to? I guess I'm aware of you talked to Lynn Bruce. Did you talk to Courtney's mom? Did you talk to Zach? Did you talk to Powell Police, or is most of this information just from Lynn?
The Powell Police, first of all, won't issue any more comments or reports past what they've already done, and they've made that clear. I talked to a couple other people off the record. Yeah, matter of fact, several people off the record. It's tough to get people to go on the record about this. Lynn Bruce did want to set the record straight and go on the record because she's known this from the beginning. Just you asked me about what things that jumped out about her credibility. Lynn Bruce was present during much of this. Lynn Bruce was present when they drove to Gainesville to confront her son over the arrest in 2009. And Courtney Smith flat out accused the late Earl Bruce, who can't defend himself now, of trying to talk her out of pressing charges. Well, Lynn Bruce was present, and she said Earl Bruce never went to her, met her, or talked to her during that visit. He went right to the football offices and talked to Urban and Zach Smith. She is the one that went and talked and counseled Courtney Smith. So for her to say on TV and to Brett McMurphy that Earl Bruce tried to persuade her is a flat-out lie, and I believe Lynn Bruce. Lynn Bruce has a record and a lifetime of credibility with her work and her life, and sure, it's her son, and she's going to back up her son, but like she told me, she said, if my son was guilty of this and had ever struck a woman, I'd be the first one to get him into professional counseling and want him to face the consequences. Because that's the way she was raised. She wouldn't want her son coddled or protected in any way if he's committing domestic abuse. But she was present enough to see how things developed between Courtney Smith and him. But, she had to defend her dad, who passed away a couple months ago, because he wasn't here to defend himself.
Is that, Jeff, the information that you have in this, do you think it has any bearing on what the committee is deciding about Urban Meyer? In other words, I guess what I'm saying is they are looking at, did you follow proper protocols with these allegations? But Zach's guilt or innocence, does it matter to what the committee is deciding?
I would have no idea what they're looking at. I really wouldn't. They probably should be looking at university employees. Zach is not a university employee anymore. Urban Meyer is and Gene Smith is. So I imagine they're looking at those two, what they did or did not do, when they did it or didn't do it, would be my guess. But, I can't speak for the committee. I have no idea what they would be looking at or absorbing or ignoring. It'd be, my guess is as good as yours. I actually had a very esteemed media member, no longer in the media, is retired today, read my story. And you know what he told me? He said, you know what? When you read this, if you're objective, Zach Smith has a heck of a case for wrongful termination, or he should have his job back. Now, I don't see Ohio State ever backtracking and doing that for one reason, because of the national publicity over this, in addition to the Me Too movement and the how they've been bombarded with negative criticism and negative attention over the last 7 to 10 days. But when you think about it and you read the details of this May 12th incident that got him fired, if you read those details, and I believe Lynn Bruce, because she was present. Again, she was present when this happened, and how Courtney had called and told him to meet her at the clubhouse. He did not show. She wasn't there, and as soon as he pulled up to the driveway to drop their son off, she had her camera out as she was prepared for him to arrive there.
Jeff, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but if here's what I'm confused about. Why was if he was allowed, and you have in the article the call that he made to Powell Police asking, she is saying, I'm not allowed to be on her property. I want to make sure with you that I am allowed to be on the property to drop off my son. And the police officer said, if you have no restraining orders, of course you're allowed to do that. And Zach was trying to do his due diligence and make sure that he wasn't doing anything wrong. So if she had no protection order at that time, why was he cited for criminal trespassing? If he wasn't doing anything wrong and he didn't have any order, that's where I'm confused, because that's kind of what started the whole thing.
Well, that's a $26,000 question. He doesn't know why he was cited, according to my sources, and his lawyer doesn't know. Now, my response was a DA surely would have dropped this. It's a misdemeanor, by the way. Would have dropped this in the meantime. And I know they had a hearing last Friday about it postponed. And then I've heard 3 different reports of why it was postponed. The credible one is that she had asked, and her lawyers had asked for the postponement. But, there's very, very little chance of this charge sticking to him as time goes on. The problem with that is it's a month down the road. So, when this investigation, say they might wrap this up in 2 weeks, these facts will probably come out 3 to 4 weeks after that.
Right.
Well, so I don't think he understands why he was charged. And, then the protective order came much later than the May 12 incident. So that part is just unclear. Whether they investigated it properly, they took her word for it without verifying it, I have no idea. Could not find the documents on that.
Jeff, you certainly stirred it up today. We really appreciate it. I know you're busy. Appreciate you taking a few minutes and talking about it with us. Appreciate it very much.
All right, guys. Take care.